Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Truth Shots with Kapil Narratives and Neurons. This is the session I have been looking forward to for a very long time. I have with me Miss Samara Mahindra. She is a trailblazer in integrative cancer care. She runs an organization called as Carer, where she is the founder and CEO, India's leading tech-enabled cancer support organization. She is redefining how cancer is managed, not just inside hospital walls, but also in kitchens, minds, and everyday lives. With over a decade of work in oncology, mental health, and recovery, she brings smart insights into how stress, often overlooked, plays a massive role in the progression and healing of disease. We talk about what it really means to manage cancer, how the medical system needs to evolve, and why emotional and nutritional recovery must be non negotiable pillars in treatment. We also will talk about her book, Thriving Through Treatment, a culinary companion, a much needed guide for patients and caregivers that blends nutrition, care, and empowerment into every bite. Welcome to the show, Samara.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
One of the reasons why I have been looking forward to this chat is this concept of patient and caregiver, and specifically looking at stress and mental wellness with extreme diseases like cancer,
Yeah.
where patients usually get so overwhelmed with the entire feel of the disease that everything else becomes secondary. I think is extremely important, and I would love to have a chat with you around this, and I'm sure our audience is going to really enjoy some of the specific pieces of wisdom they would be able to gather from you.
Absolutely looking forward to it.
Often. So, can you talk about how emotional stress really fuels a disease?
So I think I would be right to say that there has been significant amount of, say, scientific and clinical evidence that our emotional stress and how we feel mentally is starting to show implications on our physiological body. So how we feel and how we think is starting to actually affect the health of our bodies. So in that sense, there is serious connection. What we have noticed that when we treat a patient, we provide the patient with all the pillars of strength they require to change their lifestyle and to manage their treatment side effects and give them everything possible to expedite their treatment and recovery. One of the most important things in that is mental health. Unfortunately, we live in a country where it's still not given the importance it requires, but it probably is the most important to fuel the other elements of care. We have seen patients eat better, uh, physically improve, have better energy, you know, lowered fatigue, all the side effects really improving by just changing the way they feel mentally. So, your mental health and your emotional stress is one of the most important elements for recovery and care of any kind of disease or chronic ailment that you might be suffering from.
Mhm. I guess it's probably akin to somebody who has, at certain points of time, I mean, things like adrenaline rush,
Yeah.
things like you're going to feel more down if you are mentally down than how you are physically or how you are through the disease that you have.
Yeah.
That would have an impact. What comes first? Is it the disease causing the mental health issues, or is it the mental health disease or mental health disorders fueling the disease more?
So it's difficult. It's a great question, right? So, a lot of the questions we get is that I ate very healthy. I lived an amazing life. I never had any stress. How did this happen to me, right? So these are questions that it doesn't have an exact answer, but definitely our emotional and mental stress on a chronic level. Do need to mention this, that stress, acute stress or bursts of stress actually is very, very powerful in the sense that it can motivate you. It can encourage you to do things, right? Otherwise you become very complacent. But chronic stress where your adrenaline is high all the time, it has an impact on your immune system. It has an impact on eventually your susceptibility to illness, infections, falling sick, so on and so forth. So I can't say mental health or mental stress causes cancer or any serious chronic disease, but I can say it definitely has a profound impact on your susceptibility to falling sick. Yeah.
Sure. Can you talk about how we need to look at it beyond hospitals?
Another great question. So, I believe hospitals is, an environment where you get treated, but where you heal is home.
Sure.
And your home is, that's why we always say that create an environment which is conducive to healing. In fact, this is what we say to hospitals as our hospitals are so clinically driven, and rightly so, but they can also be healing in nature. And if you see more hospitals, especially in other countries, they're bringing in things like water bodies, the kind of colors that they use in the hospital, the kind of incense that there is. That's another thing, right? Like a lot of patients say, just the smell of the hospital
Right.
puts me off. So creating an environment of healing is very important. So when we go beyond the hospital is when we start seeing healing happen, and that usually is in the comfort of a patient's home.
Mhm. What sort of a role or what impact does nutrition have on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's become the fifth pillar of treating cancer. Um, it really is the foundation of your health. And today, when a doctor questions me about or questions us about nutrition and why is this important, it's very, very disheartening, because there is enough scientific evidence to prove that the right nutrition is going to fuel you for the best recovery. It is what we eat that is really giving us the energy, is giving us the nutrients, is giving us the immune system. So how can nutrition not play an important role, especially when you're going through treatment which is actually quite debilitating? Chemotherapy is not easy. And chemotherapy, let's be honest, is toxic. It's required, but it's toxic. So, how do we combat these side effects? How do we give our body enough nourishment to be able to manage the side effects of chemotherapy and then come out the other side healthier? Um, and that's the role food plays. It's the most important.
Sure. On that aspect only, you wrote a book, um, Thriving Through Treatment, a Culinary Companion. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I do want to make a disclaimer here. I will take credit for the book, but so will I be very honest that this book was not only written by me, but it was written by the entire team, and the love for what we are doing. It was very important for the book to be clinically sound.
Sure.
It was very important for what we are recommending, as our recommendations in terms of what you should eat, if you have nausea, or if you have constipation, or if you have low hemoglobin, or whatever that is, that has to be clinically sound and scientifically backed.
Sure.
And so bringing in the expertise of clinical nutritionists were very, very important. We see and treat patients, thousands of them on a monthly basis. And we have seen profound impact on how nutrition has been on the recovery of cancer patients. We wanted to share that with the world, and hence the book was born.
Sure. And let me get back to the patients and caregivers aspect of it. What sort of a role do you think cultural identity, specifically the stigma in our country around mental health, plays in the work that you are doing?
Um, I think there have been definitely evolvements over time. We have a long way to go. As we were speaking just earlier before this, I still get calls from caregivers saying and patients saying, "Hey, I'm not mentally. There's nothing mentally wrong with me, so I don't need the counseling." And we were having discussion how you have to actually change the terminology,
So,
because as soon as you say mental health, suddenly people think, okay, there's something mentally wrong with me. But when you start talking about more, like you said, stress management or mental wellness or mental well being, it's kind of changing the perception tonality of what is being, spoken about. India, we have a long way to go. In fact, I feel that element plays the most crucial part, as I mentioned. Um, Especially in the work that we do in oncology and in cancer. Cancer doesn't affect you on a symptomatic level. It affects you nutritionally, physically, psychosocially, emotionally, and all other aspects. So when cancer hits you, it hits you, your family, your community, and it hits you on all in all ways. And so, one of the ways that we need to focus on the recovery of a patient is first managing the mental health part of it, because the misconceptions that it is a end of life diagnosis, that it's, a death sentence, that it's in certain places still believe it's contagious, that there is no treatment for it, that I've done nothing but lived a really healthy life and I've still got cancer, that it is completely genetic, which that is not the case. Majority is actually lifestyle derived, um, are all misconceptions that have huge impact on what you think of it and how you feel about it. And hence, managing the mind and how we go about it, the fear of relapse, very, very real experience a patient feels when they go through treatment and post treatment.
Sure.
They then live with the fear of, oh my God, is this going to come again? And how do you deal with that? How do you survive on an everyday basis like that without the support of mental health experts to get you through that? So, by far, one of the most important elements of at least what we do.
Mhm. So for a very long time, in fact, I was chatting with one of the global hospital chains uh, a few months back, and I was saying, how about I provide you a capability where your patient and the caregiver have better mental health? First of all, let me not worry about how I will do that, but assume they have better mental health. Do you think I can reduce their hospital visit by one or two over a certain duration of time? And if I'm able to do that, what does it mean for you as a hospital? And really, the answer back was what was astounding. They say it is as good for us as actually curing the disease, which
Yeah.
of course is not going to happen in a very short term.
Yeah.
And that's really what I think the power of looking at tools that can provide, or capabilities, or counselings, or therapies, or what can provide better mental health. And now what we have started doing is, instead of just saying mental health, we say mental health, emotional health, and stress management.
Absolutely.
So emotional health and stress management, I think, becomes more terms that specifically patients go through, and they have a much more associative kind of feeler towards.
Yeah.
Because what they look at is, yeah, am I going through emotional turbulence? Hell, I got cancer, of
Yeah.
course I am. Is the caregiver going through emotional turbulence? Well, caregiver, in my world, sometimes the caregiver goes through more emotional turbulence for three reasons.
Absolutely.
Number one, they have a loved one that's struggling. Number two, they have given up on their life to do this.
Yeah.
And number three, the caregiver is usually also the person that is also responsible to ensure the affordability of the disease, the entire, and in that sense, it becomes like a family or a community disease versus an individual problem.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where mental health or emotional health becomes an extremely, extremely important part of what needs to be taken care of.
Absolutely. And like you rightly said, extending the care to caregivers, right? And this is something that we are constantly trying to do. I was a caregiver for many years. I know I put my life on hold. And it was probably the worst thing that I could have ever done. Thinking that I was being present and this is what my mother required. And it was probably, farthest from the truth. When we work with caregivers, we actually encourage them to live life exactly the way that they would otherwise. Of course, it's easier said than done, but you don't stop work. You don't stop going out. You don't stop living your life. You don't stop self care. In fact, give more of self care. And that will actually create a healing environment for the patient. And so, counseling for caregivers is imperative. And we were discussing there are cases where we do more of counseling for the caregivers than even the patient themselves in certain incidences. And yeah, and it's very, very important. And to kind of take it one step further, sleep management, right? We even talk about sleep, very important in terms of health, and kind of longevity, and just living a high quality life, and then recovering from serious diseases like cancer. We say that this is more sleep management. You have any issues with sleep, we will manage that. But we actually do mental health counts. So yeah.
Yep. And I mean, in my experience, I see this across the board, not just in people suffering from cancer, but in any sort of chronic or in any sort of long term or terminal illness. I mean, I remember very recently a friend's mother was struggling. She's 78. you know so she has multiple levels of challenges in her health. And he was talking to me as if he doesn't take care of her himself, if he doesn't stop going to his factory to take care of her, it's like he's not treating her right. And I mean, I tried a lot to convince him that taking care of her is not really for you to give up on your life. Taking care of her means you provide her the absolute right kind of structure.
Yeah,
In that sense, one
absolutely.
of the things that I have been promoting quite significantly is, for any sort of healthcare, caregiver should not be a person. It should be multiple people that join together to create some kind of an environment, structure, and everything that works well.
Absolutely.
Um, and it's not just that it would work well for the caregiver. In many cases, it also really works well for the patient as well.
100%.
In a lot of cases, I see the patient suffers more from loneliness or from non communication with other people than from anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, WhatsApp has changed quite a bit of that. COVID, one of the things that it did is it gave the power of Zoom and the power of YouTube to all patients and caregivers. For whatever bad it brought in,
Yep.
it actually did give the patients and caregivers, and people that can't travel as much, people that can't go out, the capability to watch reels, to watch videos, to watch something, to be busy all day.
Yeah.
But even in that, they still go through this lack of, call it companionship, call it just ability to see multiple faces and just even be able to say hello or exchange something that's going on. And having a structured community care where there are multiple people that come in and go out, they handle different aspects of the patient. Somebody takes care of the night, somebody takes care of the morning, somebody takes care of the afternoon or the evening, somebody takes care of the food, and amongst other things. I think it does a lot to provide patient the right kind of healing. And when you were talking about moving beyond hospitals, moving into actual healing versus just thinking about treatment,
Yeah.
I think that goes a long way in achieving that.
Yeah. I kind of agree with everything you're saying. You're speaking our language, literally speaking our language, because that's basically what we're trying to do, is that we take care and we are the experts to take care of your wellness and your health, while you continue to live your life the
Hmm.
best way possible. So,
So
yeah.
tell us a little more about Carer. What exactly is the mission, and how are you going about it, and what has been the journey so far?
Journey so far has been very interesting. It's been it's actually been a very, one of, I think is one of those journeys that we had to experience. Kero was born from a very personal experience, like we were speaking about. So it was not something that, oh, we want to build this company and here is the problem and this is where we'll get the most amount of kind of uh, uh, business growth or whatever it might be. Uh, it was a hard hitting problem that hit close to home, where we personally experienced major gaps in the space of healthcare, and this being cancer per se. And we were very fortunate to get access to the best medical care, and we still experience those gaps. So it left me with a very scary thought that what happens to those who don't even get access to the best care? And that's the journey of, I mean, that's the inception of Carer. Now, what we're really trying to solve is we're trying to build a community of experts who can look after all the pillars of health that are non-clinical in nature, that are supportive in nature, which is primarily your nutrition, your physical health, your mental well-being, your lifestyle, your sleep, and ensure that you're giving the best chance to recover from the disease, to manage the side effects better, if not reduce it substantially, and in certain cases, even decrease chances of relapse. We are coming into homes and saying that you don't look at Google and find a diet for your loved one. You don't be stressed about whether we can give wheat or millet or have dairy or not have dairy. Um, we are the experts. We are medically trained. We know this domain really well, and we'll do that for you. We will assure you that the best is given to your loved one.
Mhm.
The objective of carer is improve the quality of life of a patient and give them the best chance of healing and survival. That is the objective. The mission, I would say, or the vision is make it a part of mainstream treatment. it should not be optional. Why should some people get access to holistic care with the treatment and carer, and why shouldn't others? So we are like pushing it from insurance point of view through, and then obviously from doctors, hospital, to say that when you're giving chemotherapy, you give carer along with it.
Mhm. I think there are some very specific places, but then extremely unaffordable places that have started a little bit of providing that care. But then that comes.
I hope so. So what we are trying to do is, can we make this, I don't like this word scalable, but that's essentially what I mean is, can everybody get access? So we've started working with CSR verticals, so very large pharma companies. We started working with the government and government bodies. We started kind of reaching out, and we actually are in certain very major government hospitals. So
Mhm.
obviously we position ourselves a little differently, but even in rural areas and tier 3 cities, we are trying our way to get in there to give this kind of care to patients.
So, how would somebody going to a hospital for a cancer treatment know that they are getting some support from carer?
Well, if we have a tie up with that hospital, then, it will very much be evident over there. I believe that the doctors will tell you about it, or you would see someone from care over them. But more than that, we need doctors to endorse this. We live in a country where patients will do anything that their doctor tells you to do. Um, in other countries, people will question their doctors. This country, you will just follow suit of what your doctor says. And that's why we need more doctors to say, hey, you know what, I take care of the medical stuff, but you need support mentally and you need the support at home. And these guys are the experts, so give them the chance to do it for you. And so that's where we are trying to make the breakthrough. That trying to show doctors that, this is how we've treated your patient. Look at the how he or she is now, and tell other patients about us, because that's the only way that we will kind of be out there. And then of course you can reach out to us directly. I mean, we're not very, social media friendly, or like, gone all out there advertising. But honestly, Kapil, the biggest thing is that I want to get this insured. I don't want patients to pay for this. Why should they? It should be something that is reimbursed or cashless or whatever we might call it. But why should not this be a part of your insurance policy? This is not a value add or a nice to have. This is the ability to allow a patient to survive and heal from his or her treatment. This is essential. So we're talking a very different kind of game over here, if I can say, or a very different scale of things. And I want this to be a part of every insurance policy.
Right. But I guess in that sense, an insurance policy would only be interested in even remotely covering it if you are able to show that through the work that you are doing in carer,
Yeah,
through the support that you are providing, there is some reduction in actual healthcare cost, which, by the way, I am sure there would be. I
absolutely
mean,
is.
just
Yeah.
like how I talk about mental wellness, stress management, and how that would result in a lower healthcare cost because the patient would visit the hospital less, the patient will have a better standard of or better quality of life. The caregiver would not be as nervous as impatient or will have care available with them all the time. I think the question that probably in carer that would need to be solved, and I'm sure you are already working on that, is how do you show that saving? And
Absolutely.
that saving directly should translate into the inclusion in an insurance policy because the insurer now starts seeing that you are adding dollars to their end game.
That is exactly what the insurance provider wants to hear. And we kind of stumbled into this. So this is the power of data collection. This is the
Absolutely.
power of analytics. This is the power of clinical scientific evidence. It's so unfortunate to see, like you're saying, right? I'm sure there are great companies out there, but people are just kind of popping out health tech companies and things like that without any clinical evidence. So they're putting these propositions out there without any data to support
Absolutely.
this, and that's very disheartening. So the first few years of Carer was just building that scientific evidence, and we still are. Everything we do is backed by science. Everything we do has quantifiable kind of outcomes that we actually measure and track. And you can just, anyone, in fact, we're going to make our data dashboards live very soon. So anyone can kind of log in and see real time data of what is going on with carer and the patients. Okay. When we started collecting significant amount of data, we started seeing that this is very interestingly impacting cost. And that kind of opened a Pandora's box. This was a couple of years ago. And we started tracking the cost of treatment and its inclusion of carer and comparison with those who didn't have carer and how it was affecting cost.
Sure.
And I can't go into the details right now, but you will be
Sure.
shocked.
I'm sure
And
the hospital visits would go down. I'm
yeah,
sure
all of it.
the
Adherence, right? So one of the biggest factors was that we have now proven mechanism. It's an adherence tracker. Many patients don't complete the course of their treatment. Everyone knows this,
especially in this country.
especially in this country. So they come in, they'll do a couple of rounds of chemotherapy and they will drop out of treatment. I'm talking mass India.
Yep.
They will go take some herbal, Ayurvedic, whatever concoction. Doesn't work for them, and then they will come back with a progress disease. This is classic cases
So
that we have seen.
I was joking with a friend few days back. We were talking about some alternate medicine and everything. I said there are three kinds of people in this country. The first kind of people that will start a medicine treatment, and at the end of the first day they will say this treatment is not working.
Yeah.
And from second day they will start a different treatment.
Yeah.
Then there is a second set of people in this country who will just take medicine for a couple of days, feel better, and they say, I'm now recovered, I don't need to do anything anymore. And the third kind of people who will just try something, but then eventually they will go for alternative medicine, and they won't go for one alternative medicine. They will go for 4 or 5 or 6 different treatments at the same time, and will continue to struggle with it. There are extremely few cases in our country, those who religiously adhere to any medical treatment. They will take their courses as prescribed by the doctor. They will finish them, and they will then give it due diligence in terms of the time required to recover and all of that.
Yeah. And honestly, we see it all the time. So when you look at the costs, and don't get me wrong, I am very, very pro Ayurveda as well. But Ayurveda that's backed by science
Sure.
is what we propagate. But the ones where we don't know really what is going on is very questionable. Anyway, so you will see the financial cost of a cancer treatment of a stage 1 or 2 patient is 60% less than a stage 3 or 4 patient. So they will come back with a progress disease, and then they have to eventually spend more on their treatment. So adherence plays a very big factor. And then the other elements like hospitalization and susceptibility to infection rates come down and so on and so forth. So we saw that. We jumped in. We started really gathering some significant insights. And today, actually, more or less every major insurance provider is opening doors and listening to what we have to say because of this.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Is it possible, and I'm just thinking out loud, right? A business person, I can't not think.
Yeah.
Is it possible that you look at people that are suffering from cancer and start some kind of a policy specifically for people that says your treatment cost for over a certain duration will be X, with whatever policy you have, whatever else you don't have? Um, Couple that with what we will do, and then create some kind of a
Yes.
mechanism.
So we're kind of dabbling into all those,
Right.
all the possibilities over there. But yes, that is possible.
Right, which may or may not happen with the insurance company, which may itself be
A product on its own.
right. And this is something that I have seen very significantly happening in other areas of healthcare. I haven't seen anybody do this in terminal or chronic or long term illnesses, but I'm seeing that happen in a lot of ways in organic in normal healthcare.
Yeah. Risk is very high, right? So we have to look at the risk probability and things. And that's why maybe an insurance provider hasn't kind of stepped into that space. But that's definitely a possibility as maybe an independent product.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what sort of a role do you think creating narratives and stories around this? So, actual case studies, patients or caregivers talking about it. What sort of a role do you think that can play, and how much of that do you do today?
Very powerful. In fact, I'm very bad at this because my team has always been like, let the patient and the caregiver give a testimonial. They keep telling us such wonderful stories. Allow us to put this on social media. And I've always been the person saying, I've always allowed
The
for
products are
privacy.
talking.
Yeah, and I've always allowed, and I said never push someone to come and talk out and blast them on social media if that's not something they're comfortable doing, and I've always preferred it being a more discreet and being more, I'm anyways more of a private person. But I'll tell you something, in the last couple of months, there have been patients and caregivers coming out there and talking about it, and it has been incredible. In fact, so I was wrong. It actually encouraged a lot other people to come and say, "Oh my God, I want to talk about my experience. I'm happy to put myself on video." But more than that, what's incredible to do is to build a community of cancer patients, survivors, caregivers, because that connection you have with another patient going through what you're going through is stronger than anything else.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, we have failed in India to have a very concrete, efficient community. I think people are trying, but they're nowhere close to where it should be. And so now we are kind of taking on that kind of um, process and say, okay, let's bring in, we have the patients, we have so many caregivers and family units that we work with. Let's bring them into a community where they can engage with each other. And the power of that is, I don't think anything can beat that.
Hmm. So one of the first things that we started off, when we started off Soul Wellness, one of the first things that we did was start support groups.
Yeah.
We said people, when they are looking for emotional health, mental health, or stress management, people would require support groups around everything. One, because that support group will give them the power of hearing stories from those that have gone through the same path
Yeah.
and have recovered and what helped them.
Yeah.
Second, it will give them a huge amount of relatedness with people that are still going through the same problem.
Yeah.
One of the things I jokingly or always say is, if you are suffering from some problem, you will feel better if you find 5 other people suffering from
No,
the same problem.
absolutely.
It's part of human behavior. As long as I'm not alone and everybody else has the same shortage or same dearth, I mean, I'm fine. I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
So it would give them that ability. I mean, not just in a joking sense, but really in a human psychology sense, it will give them more power because they will be able to relate to other people that are going through the same journey. At the same time, those support groups should also be able to give them access to access to professionals,
Yeah.
access to a whole bunch of other levels of information.
Yeah.
So you are absolutely right. Something like this doesn't exist. So when I go back to some people to talk about soul, and I tell them I have a 3,000 people community around stress, 1,100 people community around anxiety, 1,100 or 1,000 plus people community around depression, a 400 or 500 people community around caregiver assistance and procrastination and other things. It's definitely very powerful.
Yeah.
Of course, the challenge in creating such support groups is, one, creating them, and second, ensuring they are not being misused.
I was just about to say, and second is facilitating that.
Absolutely.
I think people think, oh, it's very easy, just let's create the community. It's not as simple as that. It's what message is being put or facilitated.
Absolutely.
In that is, it needs to be kind of navigated appropriately.
Absolutely. And we, in that sense, are still more of a consumer, content consumer country, not necessarily in that sense a hugely important content creator country. Yeah, we have huge amount of Insta reels and everything,
Yeah.
but when it comes to true stories, we rather would consume than create. So it's, of course, that's where the challenge of creating a support group would also be.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's the real power that can be leveraged when you start thinking about it at the larger sense.
Absolutely.
Great. Can you tell a little bit more about the book, and how what does one do with the book? How does one use it most effectively?
So the book, while it's a recipe book, it's more like a guidebook. Um, when you go through cancer, unfortunately, you are going to experience certain amount of side effects. Usually, they are severe in nature. You're lucky if they're not. Um, and again, if you manage your lifestyle well, then yeah, the side effects are slightly better. But you will experience, especially the chemotherapy, mostly will experience nausea, vomiting, digestive issues, low hemoglobin, low immunity, sleep issues. Unfortunately, if you have a head or neck cancer, or cancer in the esophagus, or whatever it might be, then you have restrictions in consuming solid food. So you need liquid diet plans and things like that. So what we did is we listed out some of the top 10 or 15 major side effects that one would experience through the treatment. And we created meal plans or recipes to manage those side effects better. So under nausea, we have a whole list of different recipes that one can make at home, easy to follow, that will really help manage their nausea and reduce their nausea. If you have a digestive issue like maybe constipation or severe diarrhea or whatever it might be, here are certain things that you can do. If you have low immunity, here are certain things you can do. If you can only consume a liquid diet, then here is the best liquid diets or best, I would say, recipes that you can consume and make at home. So the idea was a couple of things. One is let's not give the power to Google for this, because there's just so many misconceptions out there, and let food be scientifically backed, and let it come from enough clinical evidence to show that what these recommendations are scientifically helps the patient. So don't spend your time on Google anymore. Don't, leave things to chance. Um, this is a guide that you can follow with your eyes closed and know that this is the best thing you're giving to your loved one. The second thing is that a lot of people have this misconception that, oh, the diet for cancer is very bland and boring, and they can't eat anything and it's very depressing and things like that. This book is the exact opposite of that statement. That you can actually, there are desserts also in the book, but obviously much healthier options and substitutes for sugar and things like that. But you can have a very nourishing diet. You can have a delicious food. There are just certain ingredients that you have to use to ensure that you're having those kind of nutrients. So the book helps with that as well. Um, and three is that we felt that we were doing injustice by not creating something like this for the masses, where we were creating these diet plans, and we are creating these diet plans, thousands of them every day for patients. Um, but there are so many out there who just don't know what to do with food. So we wanted to kind of put all our knowledge into this comprehensive kind of guidebook and say, this is something that you can keep in your kitchen. You can pick one of the recipes based on how your loved one is feeling and make that, without being worried about what do I cook, what do I eat today. They have this side effect or that side effect. So that was really the purpose of the book.
Sure. And I'm sure it's also supposed to be therapeutic for whoever is doing the cooking.
Also therapeutic
For whoever is doing the cooking.
Absolutely. I mean, if you love cooking, sure. It's extremely therapeutic. It's extremely therapeutic for the whole family, and it's something that can be shared between the family. It's not a recipes that no one else can consume. It's delicious, nourishing recipes. So yeah, absolutely.
Great. So in some ways, you are mainlining food for patients that can be consumed by everybody. Becomes great, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that. So I would
Great.
take another look and actually take out a few recipes from there.
Yeah, if you love cooking, please, you must try.
Personally, I used to. I
Okay.
haven't done much cooking in the last many years.
Okay.
But I would try to give it to my daughter. She's the one that
Oh, then please, yeah.
loves to and does something new all
Yeah,
the time.
okay.
Great. So let's move to the next portion of what we do in this particular podcast. We have what we call as a rapid fire round.
Okay.
We'll ask you a bunch of questions and just whatever comes to your head, the first thing that pops up.
Okay.
So, are you ready? Should we begin?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, one myth about cancer care you wish would disappear.
That it's a death sentence.
It's a death sentence. Okay. What is the percentage of recovery in cancer now?
It's very subjective because it depends on the stage of diagnosis. It depends on the treatment that you're taking. It depends on your health. So it's a difficult. I could say it in a certain set or category, but it's difficult to kind of give a percentage of the
But
recovery.
some number that might kind of help people relate to.
Well, let's say that the earlier you're diagnosed, so stage 1 or stage 2, let's say when a stage 1, you have almost 100% sure, 100% chance of cure.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Okay.
a very high chance of cure and recovery in stage 1 and stage 2.
Sure. And there are enough biomarkers now that you can identify cancer very early on.
Oh, there are like phenomenal screening tests available.
Right. So, in a lot of ways, one cure for cancer is you get yourself tested,
Yeah.
every so frequently.
Absolutely.
I guess
Screened.
I guess that should be part of the insurance policy, every insurance
Yep.
policy, and every healthcare policy
Yeah.
everywhere.
It should, yes.
Okay. A food you swear by for emotional grounding.
Um, a soup, or if I'm feeling a bit, if I'm not very good, then some chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Hardest moment on the carer journey.
I think when we have to treat children.
Yeah. Um, any specific instance you would want to?
No specific instance, just kind of um, having to deal with situations where you're dealing with small children who are going through this, who don't really know what's happening to them mentally or physically, and suddenly their schools have stopped and they are not meeting their friends and they're very confused and they're sitting in a hospital bed. um, yeah, that's probably the hardest thing to kind of see while we treat the patient. But yeah, that's difficult.
One thing that the hospitals still get wrong.
Not personalizing the experience for a patient.
Okay. And do you think that's a more a question of just the number of patients or the overall attitude in hospitals? I mean, what would you attribute that to?
Yeah, I think it's just too many patients, and it's a little bit more of a mindset of let's just get more and more in.
Mhm.
Um, so I feel that uh, if we kind of take a step back and realize we're treating a human being, I think things would be a little different.
Mhm.
So I can't really, talk about why it's the case, but I think it's some multiple reasons. But it has to be more personalized, less kind of commercialized, and a little sense of compassion and emotion could really go a long way.
Do you think it also has to do with the traditional, respect associated with the medical profession? So I'll give you an example.
Yes, please.
I was getting a surgery done for my father. It was almost 15, 20 years back. He passed away almost 10 years back. So we were getting a surgery done. I was in Langaram Hospital in Delhi, and I was asking the doctor something. And because this, what happened was we were not getting a room, so they put up in a nephro room while his surgery was not for kidney.
Okay.
And these doctors, they will come every day and they will do nephro tests for him. And I asked a junior doctor once about something, and he kind of smirked at me. Uh, and I said, "What the hell? I mean, I'm educated. I'm not a
Yeah.
illiterate person. Uh, give me statistics and data points, and then we'll talk." And he was being stupid about it. So the senior doctor came in, and I said, "Sir, you need to understand one thing. I am sitting in Gangaram Hospital. Okay, I'm paying the salary of you and your junior doctor and the surgery that I'm getting. If you want, okay, I will give you all the respect you deserve and want and whatever. Do this treatment for free. If I'm paying for it, then please let's look at this as a customer vendor relationship. I'm the customer. I'm not asking you to treat me, with, oh my God, sir, how are you? But at least talk to me at a human level.
Yeah.
Uh, if you were working in a village, and I think that's where there is a lot of that traditional kind of how we have looked at the medical profession, where there would be doctors and you would become a doctor if you are giving away and essentially getting into servitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when you need that respect, because you are an intelligent, smart person. You have given up on the other things in your life to do this.
Yeah.
And I think I, at least in a lot of ways, see that as still one of the governing factors in healthcare in India.
Yeah. I think also, see, it's also changing a lot. Like, doctors are spending more time with their patients. They're being more compassionate. they're interacting more with their patients. That's changing a lot. But I think just the whole atmosphere has to change.
Yeah.
And it cannot be such a, numbers kind of space. It has to be more human centric. I think that's where I don't know exactly how, what. Maybe it's as simple as just changing the environment, and just better kind of interiors could
So
help.
after this incident, I actually went to the medical director in Gangaram Hospital. I was still based out of US at that point of time. I was visiting India for my dad's surgery, and I stayed in the hospital for the entire duration that he was there. I actually went to the medical director there, and I said, I think instead of thinking of you like a hospital, I want to first of all think of you like a call center, a customer service center. And I think I want to propose, and I did a proposal and couldn't follow through much on it. But I said, you need to actually treat your doctors, your nurses, and your nursing staff first on customer service. And yeah, their medical degrees and their experience and everything is great, but you need to treat them on customer service because healthcare is changing.
Yeah.
And we are right now talking about a situation where healthcare is a five-star hospital.
Yeah.
It's more expensive than a five-star hotel. I'm not even talking about the cost of healthcare.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
Just actually staying there.
exactly just essentially staying there.
Yeah.
It's more expensive than a five-star hotel. In many cases, it is just as luxurious, if not more luxurious, than a five-star hotel as well.
Yeah.
I think that entire approach to treating people, essentially going beyond this attitude of we are doctors and that's a patient, and actually looking at it as we are a service provider and this is the person that
The
we are
human.
providing the service to.
Yeah.
I think that's what needs to be brought in. And in that sense, I think there is a huge amount of training, uh, non-medical training that needs to happen for medical providers. I think that would go a long way. I remember just 4 months, 5 months back, I had to take my daughter into emergency. She had one of these battery rickshaw accidents.
Okay.
She fell. She had this kind of a hole in her head here.
Okay.
Um, I took her to a hospital, and they just wouldn't, treat her. They said, first we need to do this, whatever the police complaint. You need to take her to the pediatric ward. This is on a Sunday, and I said, I will do whatever you want, but first somebody needs to tend to her.
Yeah.
She's, I mean, she's not very young, but she's still 17.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody needs to tend to her. Just get this taken care of. You want to do a police complaint, you want to do, a court case, you want to send her to pediatric, you want to do whatever. I will do, but somebody needs to tend to her. I actually ended up in a sort of a blow up with them. I took her to a different hospital after that. And very interestingly, three people who were standing there in emergency after me had a similar experience, and they came behind me to that other hospital, and two of them came to the same other hospital. I went to Saroj Hospital after that, and two of them came there, and there the experience was totally different.
Yeah.
Of course, the one thing that the doctor and I argued over there was, he said, for her stitches you have to go out of the room. I said, but why do I have to go out? I can actually be helpful if
Yeah.
I'm standing here. He said, not gonna happen. Hospital policy, you have to go out before I touch. And he put his equipment down like that.
Okay.
I said, don't worry, let me go out.
Yeah.
It's okay. But yeah, I think there is a lot of customer support and service that needs to be incorporated
Sure.
in the healthcare.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm sure you have much worse stories than I would have, looking at, being in the area, working through with patients and working through with patients that are in extreme need of support.
Yeah. It's quite horrific, but like I said, it's definitely changing. But we have a long way to go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, a few years from now, where do you see carer?
Oh God, that's a question. Like if I don't even know where I see carer 6 months from now. To be honest, it's every day we just, like I said, one of the things we just want to do is get it insured and just be a part of the treatment everywhere. Now how we do it, what we do, honestly, it's too stressful to think about. So the vision is just make it a part of treatment, and whatever possible way we can do that, we're going after that. So I don't know how we see Kera in 5 years or whatever it is, but that's what we're going after now.
And you are a mother of two 5-year-old kids. How did
5-year-old,
sorry,
5-month-year-old.
5-month-old? What did I say?
Yes, very new.
5-month-old kids.
Yeah.
How did that change your life plans and specifically work that you are doing around carer?
It's definitely made me look at my work very differently. I never knew that motherhood would change me so much. I always knew that I've always been someone who loved working, so I knew that that's something. And okay, I'll have these children and I'll get back to work and whatever. Um, which I did actually. I kind of jumped back into work within I think a month or month and a half. Um, but it's made me more conscious of what we're trying to build. Now suddenly I want to build a better world. And, I now suddenly want to be this, savior to everybody and just be like, okay, but my children are growing up in this world. So it does change that, but I'm a very new mother, so I'm still getting very used to the concept. Like I'm like, sometimes I look at them and I'm like, really, like are these my children, or like it's such a strange, surreal experience, and it's such a beautiful experience. And every day is very exciting because it's something new. Um, but definitely in terms of work, it's changed my view on what I want to build. Just for them and for myself.
And earlier when we were talking, you were talking about growing up on a stud farm
Yes.
and now living in Delhi
Yes.
and having two kids now.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Delhi pollution?
I think we should not go into this topic because it's a very touchy topic with my husband. Um, I mean, there are no thoughts. It's just, like, for me, it's just, there's no option but to move. Now, it's not about me anymore. It's about two little infants. And I don't think it's conducive for their health. So this has been my best excuse. And yeah, I don't see us here very long.
I'm sure your husband wouldn't disagree with the fact that the air is toxic. He just would disagree with the fact that that's a good reason to move.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So he doesn't. Interestingly, he doesn't give an answer to the air being toxic. He gives everything else, all the other arguments, but that particular response doesn't come out. He just ignores it and kind of thinks that it's no big a deal. But no, it's not. It's not. Forget about anything. It's not healthy for anyone, especially someone who's kind of recovering through a chronic disease. Um, we do a lot of lung rehab and things like that for patients in Delhi because you just need to kind of detoxify the lungs as much as possible and don't step out. You have to put air purifiers in your home, and that's how you have to live. It's very unfortunate.
I think we guys, those who are born and brought up in Delhi, we don't really look at it that way.
Yeah.
I have, to date, I've never used an air purifier.
Okay.
I don't use masks at all. But I think we guys in Delhi are kind of used to of that. We feel bad about it. I mean, it's not like we don't see the toxicity in the air. We
But-
sometimes breathe acid almost.
Yeah. And are perfectly fine, right?
And we crib about it, we cringe about it, but we don't really see that as a good reason.
That's why my husband tells me, and I'm like, that's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah,
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not arguing on that. I see, in fact, as I was telling you earlier also, I'm seeing this pattern now of people with young kids making a choice to move out of Delhi.
Absolutely. I mean, I was given some very scary statistic the other day. I think it's 1 in 3 or 1 in 5 children will get asthma living in Delhi, and I'm not okay with that, So it's a bit scary. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm sure you will come to a logical conclusion around that. Yeah. But yeah, Delhi air is of course toxic, and now it's starting to be very bad even in May, June.
That's the thing, like, this argument that I was given before that, it's only a couple of months,
Only
a year,
months,
it's not working anymore.
So we used to say, so when I was living in the US, we used to say there is a season to travel to India. You don't want to travel May to July because it's,
Very
hot,
hot.
very hot. You don't want to travel December, January because December, January, February even, because there will be fog.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there is a new season. You can't travel May to July because it is hot. You can't travel September to November because there is fog. You can't travel December to February because there will be fog or there will be pollution. So now the time frame to travel.
Basically, don't travel.
Well, now the time frame has become almost like end of February to probably middle of April.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's actually we're laughing about it, but it's a horrible.
Yeah, it's a true, it's a reality now.
Yeah.
That people that travel to Delhi are now thinking the travel time, at least for people that are coming from US and Canada, they are saying the travel time is now, you come in March, end of February, you stay here in March, and then you go back middle of April.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm. Right? Before we sign off, any last thoughts that you want to leave our audience with?
Um. No, I think what is important for me is that I think for all those who have the misconception about, you know, a diagnosis of cancer, and I always speak to these people, is that, you know, whether a loved one's been diagnosed with cancer or whether it's yourself that's got the diagnosis, we need to understand that it's not the end of the road. We need to understand that it actually is and can be extremely empowering for you. I have personally dealt with thousands of people who have had a cancer diagnosis, recovered from it, and healthier than they were before. And it's kind of just more an obstacle in your life. And with the right doctors, the right team, the right therapist, the right kind of environment, and with your family, you've got the best chance of healing and survival. Yeah.
Hey, fantastic. So, all of you, you want to look at carer, specifically the ones that have a loved one going through the journey of cancer. You absolutely must get the book Thriving Through Treatment. It's a book that will give you interesting recipes, not just for patients, but for the entire family. And, Samara, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful conversation, talking about cancer care, talking about caregivers, talking about the Delhi pollution. Thank you so much for your insights on that. Wish you best of luck for your journey in carer. It's an initiative. It's an objective that is worth kind of doing everything for. Cancer and cancer related caregiver problems are definitely a huge part of what we see, and I'm sure as soon as you make some progress, you would extend it not just to cancer but to other
Absolutely.
chronic and long term illnesses as well.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me. And I do want to say thank you for entertaining conversations like this, because it's not the most exciting conversation or buzzing conversation to have, but these are the most empowering and powerful conversations, because change happens through this and through the right education. So thank you for giving light to these kind of topics.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a wonderful time.
Yeah, our audience is not the one that would want to look at it as an Instagram reel.
Yeah.
They would be the audience that would actually be suffering through a problem and would be looking at, hey, what is it that I can do? And we as a as a show, we pride ourselves in putting out the word that very few people would want to talk about.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It is a token of our appreciation. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for the thoughts that you shared.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
here is what we call as a uh, soul calmness hamper for you.
Very important for me right now. Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.